As the Russia-West tensions over Ukraine have been boiling in the past few months and reaching new, more alarming levels, Poland's foreign minister said in mid-January that Europe is closer to war than any time in the last 30 years. I'm Rusuf Husseinov, and my guest today is Mr. Jan Pieklo, former Polish ambassador to Ukraine, with whom I'm going to speak on how the Ukraine crisis is seen from Poland nowadays. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for finding time for this interview. Let me start with this very short question. How real is the war?
Thank you for the invitation. War is very real because it's in the process. Since 2014, we are having a war in Ukraine. Now the scale is different, so it looks that it could be the next stage of the war, much bigger scale, and there is a real threat because the Russian troops extending 150,000 of soldiers. There is also the heavy equipment. And the biggest concern for Poland and for Ukraine at the moment is the planned military drill in Belarus with the participation of the Russian troops, because it looks that Belarus is now becoming a part of the Russian imperial project.
I see. What is Mr. Putin's calculations? Can you see the motivation behind the Kremlin's ultimatum to the West, which is obviously not acceptable for many Western countries? Do you think the Russian elites are ready to bear all the costs of the total rupture with the West?
This is really a very good question indeed. And according to the polls, according to the public opinion research, the average Russian is not really interested in having the war. There is a couple of factors. The first factor is that the economic situation in Russia looks much more dramatic. And it's really very difficult for some groups of people to survive, to supply their families. The second issue is the fight with COVID, with the virus, and it's not really successful. And also the rating of President Putin is going down. So all these three factors are very important, and the message to Kremlin is clear that presidents and Kremlin should do something in order to raise the rating and position in the Russian society.
And which was the case in 2014 as well.
Yes, exactly. It was the case of 2014 when it was the annexation of Crimea. So maybe we face the same logic behind this last developments around Ukraine. That Kremlin and Putin think that the new invasion and the confrontation with the West, not just with Ukraine, but with the West, it will give them more, let us say, points. And maybe it is this calculus behind this team, although we really don't know.
I see. Mr. Ambassador, where does Poland see herself in these current geopolitical constellation? Is there any Polish strategy to react to Russia's plans or to contain Russia in Eastern Europe?
the Polish government, Warsaw, we know that Poland is becoming right now the front country. This is the eastern flank of NATO and European Union. And in the last couple of months, we experienced the big problem with so-called hybrid excursion of imported by Lukashenko regime migrants through the Polish border. So it was a kind of hybrid attack, which we think is a part of the wider Russian strategy, and it also includes Ukraine, but it looks that Poland and also the Baltic countries, Latvia and Lithuania, they also have a border with Belarus. They were also the target of the same hybrid activities. So we know that it is not just a problem with Ukraine. It's much wider problem, and we should be prepared to respond. And the last news about the military drills on the Belarusian soil with the participation of Russian army, and the information in the media that maybe it would be possible for Russia to install the nukes on the Belarusian soil, it's really scary.
Mr. Ambassador, you just said Poland and the Baltic countries should be prepared to respond. You mean politically or militarily?
Yes.
Or both?
And, yes, in the very first place, yes. And we are under NATO umbrella. And we should also discuss this issue with our Ukrainian colleagues and to be prepared together to respond to the possible developments on our eastern border. And it was already a consultation, 2 days consultation meeting of Polish president with Ukrainian president in Poland, and all these issues were discussed. I don't know the outcome because it's still not made public, but definitely this issue was discussed, including also the massive flow of migrants from Ukraine in the case of the attack.
Despite all the calls of several Eastern European nations, such as Poland, we see the West, the collective West, let's put it this way, still fails to set up a common strategy towards the Kremlin's threats and an expansionist policy. What do you think the West can do to stop Moscow in this situation and compel it to defuse the crisis?
Now, first of all, we know that Moscow demanded the guarantees, security guarantees, for not expanding NATO to the east and not having the American soldiers and NATO equipment on the territories of the countries like Poland, the Baltics, Romania, and the others. It is unacceptable, and NATO and US and also European Union managed to say loudly no to Russia. It doesn't make Russia happy, and today we'll be having the second round of talks between Secretary Blinken and Mr. Lavrov. I don't expect that the outcome will be solving the crisis, but the best solution to respond to the Russian threat, there are sanctions, heavy sanctions, including taking over the SWIFT from Russia, and to put Russian banks on the American blacklist, and it would be impossible for Russians to to use dollars, American dollars. There is a lot on the table, and the clue is also the Nord Stream 2. Unfortunately, the Berlin new government is not very helpful, and there is still a kind of defensive attitude that Berlin is not really open to simply to close this issue and to close the project for, let us say, for the good sake, as a matter of fact. So we are having a problem in this regard, and the policy of Berlin is completely different than, for example, the policy of some other EU countries, especially on the eastern flank of NATO and the EU.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.